Hey guys, we have a 30-minute unrated game on the board against somebody rated 975. So I've started with a Reti opening simply because I don't know what I'm doing, so we're gonna see what happens. Okay, now e4 right now is what I would normally play. That doesn't work. I just drop the pawn with tempo and then have to move the knight. So let's play d4. We could even transpose into London here. So the accelerated London system is when you move the bishop out to f4 on the second move. But knight to f3 is also London. I just happen to do that on move number 1. All right, so if we're going... Oh, this looks like a mirror image of the copycat variation in the Vienna. Only thing is, it's the wrong way around. So I don't have the queen g4 move. c3 may come. We shall see. Depends on this pawn. Depends if this bishop wants to come out. But if the bishop comes out, again we say, well, look, I can play c3 then. You don't always have to. There are some things that it makes sense to preempt and to discourage with a prophylactic move. There are other things that you can deal when you get there. So e3 now. I mean, the knight could get in here. Let's push e3. If the knight comes in, I can challenge it. One of these squares. This pawn hasn't moved, so the bishop can't pin the knight. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about. a7 to a6, so it's preventing this move, but was I going to play that move anyway? Well, no, not really. Okay, now I'm kind of inclined to play c4 here. I think c4 looks like a decent move. Really challenging for the centre. Black's only bothered to put one pawn in the centre so far. He hasn't got time to play e5. Now I've got 3 sets of eyes on there. Okay. Now if I take, queen could take, which I could then follow up with this, which could then be pinned, of course. I could play the knight out now. So move order makes a difference. Knight out now, and then if I take... he's got 3 ways to recapture, to be honest. My knight can go into the e5 square, that's always nice. I can play bishop d3, I can play bishop e2. But I like the look of knight c3 here. I do like the look of that move. Opponent is from, is that Estonia? So it's light blue, white and green. Uzbekistan. Now I'd struggle to find that on the map. Anyone who watches Richard Osman's House of Games in the UK will have a clue what I'm talking about, because they've got a game round called Where is Kazakhstan? And in fact, there are some really good online resources. If you want to learn your countries, or you want to learn your US states or whatever, then you can look up like US states map quiz, and there are some great like flash-driven tests that you can do until you get them all right. It doesn't take long to memorize all the US states, for example. European countries is on the tough side. And certainly Central and Eastern Europe I find really quite challenging. Okay, so here we have another very quiet move. So what should you do when your opponent is playing too passively? Well, the first thing is to stick to principles in general. Get the king to safety. Let's challenge it. Let's play bishop d3. So if he fancies swapping off bishops, that is just going to improve my situation, you see, because he's invested 1 move in bringing this bishop out. If he takes my bishop, that's 2 moves out of 7 for that particular light squared bishop, which has then disappeared off the board and taken his moves with it. So if he does this and I recapture, okay, he's taken there. Interesting. So I have free pawn here, but I'm also quite fancy the look of that. But let's have the free pawn anyway. So he's just captured away from the center. Notice this, right? And that was the point of c4. You're trying to tempt this pawn away from the center, like in the king's gambit or the queen's gambit, so that you can dominate the center. So what I would like to do, so he's played this move, okay. What I would like to do is push this pawn and harass that bishop. I can't do that right now. I think I should probably take the free stuff. I'm not too worried about this knight coming in. Okay, now I think I can just drop back here. And again, put the question to this bishop. If he allows me to capture, it means as things stand, he's got to capture again away from the center. And that leaves him with 2 against 0 central pawns, which positionally is not the ideal. Okay, here we go. And another pawn move. Here we go with another pawn move. How about that? Knight e5 is a very thematic move in the London. Kind of inclined just to castle now, I think. Castle short. Yeah. So because I have these 2 central pawns and my opponent has none, or no, my opponent has 1 still, because he initiated the bishop trade, then it is going to make sense to try and punch through up the D and E files. Now he really needs to get his bishop out so that he can castle. If he fails to castle his king, that ain't going to work out too well. I'm thinking e4, I'm thinking e5, e4, d5 even. I'll probably play more principle. Get both my rooks in the middle of the board. Oh. So if I take, he can recapture with c. We know this. I'm going to drop back. It's a nice square here. The bishop's double defended. It defends both of these pawns. It really bricks in my king here. Look at that now. I mean, how much material are you going to need to punch your way through that? Well, there's a start. I can attack his knight and maybe threaten this. If I go there, if he takes, I take. This is okay. And by the way, if he does capture my bishop, I've got 2 options. Now, a lot of the time it makes more sense to capture towards the center. Depends what your plans are. Okay, so I have queen takes as an option. But I'm thinking, you know, the theme of this game is really the central pawn, so let's go with this, yeah? If he takes it, again, I'm going to capture towards the center. Well, let's make the whole game around central pawns, centralizing your pawns. He's actually only lost 1 pawn so far, so have I. But with the trades, the pawn he's missing is D. So he's missing an absolute central pawn. I'm missing only a B pawn. Okay, I'm going to capture again towards the center. One more time. Alright. So he's doing okay, but look how far away from home these pawns are. Alright, now E5 looks very natural. I need a way to break into my opponent's position. So something I'm thinking about now is something like f3, king f2, rook to h1, and start to apply pressure maybe down the h file, maybe get the queen onto the g file, lined up against the king, pinning this pawn. Something like this. So how do we do it? The question is, where do I put my knight? Do I want to put my knight here, maybe, or here, in order to prepare f3 or even f4? So you have to see, well, where can the knight go from there? From here, he's got this, doesn't really work, this doesn't really work. From here, he's got this, which is kind of flexible, so knight h2 it is. Look how all this stuff is still on the back rank. A rook lift is not out of the question. But my hunch is, you know, make use of this, of my pawn advantage. Right, make use of these double pawns. Double pawns are not always a handicap at all. Sometimes, for example, you can. Okay, let's have a think. If he captures away from the center, I capture towards. Okay, I'm going to play f4. Not going to think too hard about this. If he wants to take here, again, I capture towards the center. Right, and in general, I'm wanting to capture towards this kind of f file. That's my general idea. And here is where the double pawn can come in handy. So if he takes on f4, I've got g3 takes f4. And again, okay, well, he's taken that way. And look at the control that I have on this side of the board. All of these base are belong to us, right? So ain't no pieces going on these squares. That's the point. I have knight f3 actually now as well. That's a thought. He's not coming here, is he, in a hurry? I could prevent him from going to f6 if I push e5 now. Or I can let him go to f6 and then push e5. Again, you just reverse the move order. And then where's he going to go? He can't go there because of my knight. He can't go here because of queenie. I've got this. I've got this. I think just centralize the knight. Centralize the knight, maybe then king f2, rook h1. Something like this. Not doing anything spectacular or clever, because quite honestly, I haven't got anything spectacular or clever in the old tank. Another pawn move. It'd be interesting to count up how many pawn moves white has made and black has made. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for me. I've made 8 pawn moves out of 19. Black has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pawn moves. And yet, who's got the strongest pawns? That's including captures, by the way. He's made 2 more pawn moves than I have. But what's he got to show for it? That's undefended, by the way. So this is the goldfish method. Did a podcast interview the other day, which I'll tell you about. It's not going to come out till next week, but I'll tell you guys about it when it comes out, for a very well respected chess podcast. So, and we talked about the goldfish method that few people find really useful. So basically, we're drawing lines and to do that, by the way, on chess.com, you right click, or if you're on a touchpad or something, you can kind of 2-finger tap and drag. So right click and drag. If you just right click, it highlights a square. If you right click and drag, it does arrows. If you hold down your different keys, where's my green one? There it is. Yeah. Then you can change the color and also change the color of the squares as well. So your kind of option keys, modifier keys on your keyboard. You can sometimes need to set it up in your settings. I think it is an option here. Settings here. Let's just quickly have a look at that while opponent's having a think. So it's on. Is it on live chess? So you've got enable pre-moves as an option. Multiple games at a time. That's a pain. Can't see the highlights on there. Focus mode is quite interesting. Focus mode means that it goes into, like, you hit Z, I think, on the, or Z. And it hides your opponent's rating and stuff like that. It just simplifies the board. Yeah, I can't find the things. Is it in the settings here? Let's have a quick look. Coordinates, animation type. Highlight moves, there you go, highlight moves. So it's in your board setup, actually in play settings. Yeah, highlight moves. So if you haven't got that on, you might need to get it on. Okay, so he's pinned this pawn. So I normally show that with a blue highlight to show it's iced. Knight in there would be cool. It's an interesting move. I could break the pin with my queen. So I'm not ahead of material here. And I've got one solid mass of gear in the middle of the board. And then I've got this solo pawn here. Opponent has 2 triplets. Pawns. The knight is undefended. Also, might not be the cleverest idea having my king in line with that rook. So I might stick him over here. Okay, well he's done me a favour. Alright, now. Another option is actually here to use the C file to attack. It is semi-open, and this is defended, so I can't see myself sacrificing a piece against there. So I'm thinking like here, something like this. I can't put that there right now, but if I like just double up my rooks quietly on the C file, I'm threatening this pawn here. That's not a bad move, particularly in conjunction with pawn to f5. Get my knight on here, defended by the pawn. It's really going to hamper the king. I like the fact he's using his time. It's good to see. Unfortunately, it gives me time to press down the plunger on my coffee pot and refuel. So what my opponent's done here is actually strategically he's done a reasonable job, because when you're playing against somebody quite a lot stronger, it does make sense to simplify the board. Of course, we're not playing for money. This is just oh hello. This is an unrated game, so we're only playing for pride here. And you're playing for pride. Now this. So I do this. Is his idea to double up the rooks on the e file and come after this pawn? Okay, so if I come here, he does this. I do this. He's got two attackers against this pawn. I've only got the one defender in it. Can't play that right now. I've got knight d2 defends the pawn. If I push the pawn, pawn takes, then the queens are facing off. But that is my strength, isn't it, on this board, right? Now again, if he takes there, we're clearing away the f file a little bit. He is taking towards the centre, so I am losing out in that sense. Also notice his queen's defended by the knight. If he takes, I've also got knight takes. Knight takes there, queen takes queen, king takes queen. So this is my general plan. I want to use my advantage, which is that I've got these two central pawns really. Now, I don't have a passed pawn. The reason is because this guy has got a pawn there that can, in theory, capture him. Okay, so he's now got 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers lined up against there, but 1, 2, and that's the end of the exchange, because knight takes, pawn takes, he just loses material that way. Decent move though. So now I'm thinking, can my knight come around here now, or even here? I've got 1, 2, 3 defenders. I think I'm okay. So let's say knight here, right? Play it through. Takes. If knight takes, pawn takes, we trade off queens. I think that's okay. I think it's time to insert the knight. Either of these squares, we're hitting this rook. So the rook will probably go there if it wants to stay on the e file. Okay. And now we might trade queens, but if he captures this pawn, he's just going to lose some material, which I don't think is going to work out for him. This pawn would then hang as well. And then that one. Notice, so my pawn structure here, my backwards pawns are defended by pieces right now, yeah? So are his. These guys. all defended by pieces. But if the queens come off the board, then these pawns are going to be undefended. This one hangs, which means it's undefended and attacked. I would take the queen at this point. And the reason is simply because knight recaptures, I win a pawn, skewering the knight onto this pawn. So I would win 2 pawns, I think, with that. The end of all that. Wonder what the eval is at this point. There's one way of knowing, which is, let me go to chess.com in another browser. And I need to log in here, just check it. Oh, he's moved, hang on. Right, okay, so he's declined the queen trade. Now, this pawn is defended twice. Maybe that's an idea. So I don't want to do this. I want to go. Oh, look, Ben Hunt 72 has sent a message. So what I've done is I've created a second. Now this is an account that doesn't play. Okay, and I can click watch. So I've made myself a dummy account that is a friend of my normal account. Okay. And in theory, if you were that way inclined, you could choose this too. So HuntyRec is my, don't tell chess.com, because it's against the rules. All right, but you could use this as a cheating method if you so chose. So let's just look at eval here. I'm not going to put lines on. And the eval plus, so it's negative 0.2. Black is doing fine, 0.3 now. Black is doing absolutely fine. Okay, good. Oh, I'm pleased about that. So I have knight here attacking the rook. Now, if he wants to keep his rook there on the e-file, he has to go there. Then I have that though. Here, rook here, knight here. But then he's actually got rook takes, and my pawn can't take because my queen would hang, which is not great. So I'm gonna play rook d1. So I've got ideas about this. Could be good. Knight here I quite like. Right, and now, having moved this pawn forward a couple of times, it's not hanging. So takes doesn't achieve the same thing. Okay, let's just think about this then. There, rook here. That attacks the rook again. There does actually take his knight a little bit out of the action. It's a long way away from the kings. Look, here are the kings. This is where you want your knights. You want your knights either in a useful defensive capacity or a useful offensive capacity. His knight over here is kind of neither. Also notice my queen's pinned. My queen can't actually move away. I could block with a rook, for example. But this is also an idea. Let's do this move. If he wants to trade queens, he can. This is a passed pawn, actually. And the reason is there are no pawns here or here that can ever intercept it. Which means if it's going to be intercepted, it's got to be intercepted by a piece. Very interesting. All this talk about pawns earlier on, and I've ended up with this kind of majority here, but, and actually technically now I do have a passed pawn. This one, okay, there we go. Now, big question. Do I recapture with the knight or the king? My instinct says king. For a couple of reasons. One is I'm centralizing the king, which is no bad thing towards the end game. Yes, I'm putting it in the line of fire at both of these rooks. But the other reason is that it maintains the threat against this rook here, and that I think is just the first blunder. Okay, because I now have rook, knight d6 attacking both. Now here, if he takes there, I just take. Yeah, I think that just loses material. And notice he played that move in 1.1 seconds. Right, dude's used 11.5 minutes so far. 1.1 seconds, and how often are the most decisive moves the quick ones? And there we go, resigns. Yeah, real shame, because he was doing so well. You were doing so well up until that point. You know, good game. Very interesting. Let's look at the game review. I think my opponent played way higher than 970 in that one. Oh, he wants to be friends. Cool. Of course. 75% accuracy. So I had small margins, +3 at one point actually. Here he was slightly ahead and then blunder. Yeah, 2 missed wins from me, and he played 1350. I mean, that was really good. That was really good. Yeah, and again, look, just a rush decision at this point. What should he have done? Well, he actually said knight takes was better, but it's very marginal. Rook takes. Whoa. Rook takes c5 is best here. Obviously, I have to recapture. He has rook takes and then king f4 defends the knight. Wow. And g5 deflects the king away. What? King? Why not king g4? Why not king g4 here? King g4 is okay. Wow, okay. Interesting, but yeah, there's no way he would have figured that one out for sure. But yeah, really good game. I thought that was excellent. I thought that was good by my opponent. So let's whiz through it again, particularly looking at pawns. Okay, so by the way, if you are a London player, then Reti is a way to start. Kind of tricking your opponents, because a lot of your opponents will know what to do against d5. They always play the same thing against d5. Like I play, sorry, d4. I play e5 at the moment, right? This might do, I mean, I don't know. And here we are, this is the London system. Yeah, I wasn't sure about this. So here, it's equal. Here, white is plus 0.4 now, because it's slow. Right, the machine says bishop e2 here. Second move, actually, knight e5, really throwing the knight in there already. And then third move, knight b to d2 here. I played c4, still got a half a pawn advantage. We have this, still half a pawn advantage. C5 it's saying now. Wow. Again, knight b to d2. Same position I played here. Another quiet move, and again just crept up white's way a little bit. Let's see what it thinks. Queen b3. Queen b3 attacking the b7 pawn. Pawn to c5 again, it's saying. And h3 here. Bishop takes f5. Oh, he's saying I should have traded bishops. Did definitely think about that, because that really would have kind of peeled open his king a bit, and then I can maybe come after this pawn later. But I thought let's grab the stuff. Bishop back to e2, it says. Trade. Still says I should have thrown my knight in there. and this is inaccurate. It says I should trade here. I did not trade. I just dropped my bishop back. Now it says I should trade bishops. I didn't do that. And we capture towards the center. Now notice that, see how my opponent ends up with the passed pawn later on. Black should now castle. Okay, now I've kind of lost my advantage here. So from here, it says queen takes is best. Bishop takes d6 is best. Is next best, and then b takes is the third best move. But that was kind of weak. Interesting that. Because I was banging on about how capturing towards the center would be a great theme for the game, but not the best. Queen takes, I guess, comes from an attack on there, ties the knight down. We shall see. Okay. Now here, h takes is better than f takes, which it generally is. Generally. Keeping my pawns together. F takes would have given me separate pawn islands. Here I've got a single pawn island. Okay. Now rook fd1. Didn't approve of that. Didn't like that. Swinging the knight back. And now ed is the best move. cd. Okay. And it's very equal again. Black just has a slight edge. Does he keep his edge? Rook a c1 now. Nope. Didn't like that. So what should I have done here? Queen b3 check. Wow. So here I've potentially pinned my own queen, which is what ends up happening. Okay, now we have a slight edge again, but yeah, very, very good arm wrestle of a game. And now rook c2, it's saying. Didn't like that. fe is the best move. fe we have. de we have. And now c5, which is what they played. So my opponent has found a lot of good moves. Very good. Okay, now knight f5 has to be played. And that was a big mistake after knight takes e5. Apparently giving... Wow. Let's look at this. Let's look at this line. Knight takes e5. F takes e5. Rook takes e5. Has to be played. I don't get it. Hang on. I don't get it. It was saying that black had a real advantage there a minute ago, and now it's gone. Yeah, here, after knight takes e5, maybe it's just Stockfish looking 18 moves down the line, I don't know. Depth equals 14 here. Because this is not looking that strong, but I have to find queen c3 here. Oh, I don't know about this. I really don't know about this. But anyway, yeah, very well played by my opponent, Artem Sakoyan. Yeah, what have we learnt is the question. This is the thing. You can play chess all day long. If you don't stop and learn a lesson, then what's the point? And I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I didn't particularly screw up at any point. No, it's just a solid grinder of a game, really. But there you go. Sometimes that's what happens, and unfortunately, here, trade-off and then a blunder. If you're going to take one thing away from this tedious game, then let it be this. Don't make a move in 1.1 seconds when you've got 18 bloody minutes on the clock. Okay? Rook takes e5 here was good, but that's a very computery move. Knight c5 is the second best move, but white is just doing better now from this point, interestingly. And another thing that you can do, by the way, is, oh, you can take this straight to a classroom. You can also potentially like just grab this position. You can click like the share icon, grab the fen, for example. You can go to an analysis board if you want. There's no play against the computer from this point, but if you go to an analysis board, I think it will then let you paste in the fen. So you just paste it into here, add the game, and you see this little target down here, practice versus computer. Okay, but now it's got stockfish on maximum setting, playing the best move. So go change bot. You can change it to the oh, Women's History Month. Well then, guys, we know what we're doing for the next video. Okay, so you can pick an appropriate opponent, the appropriate level, and white to move, and you play on from that position. Okay, and it's actually got the eval on here as well, which is curious. But anyway, yeah, there you go. Hope that's useful. Hope it's interesting. More for the beginners out there. But yeah, bottom line is, look at what my opponent did. He played a really solid game, and then he blew it with a 1.1 second move. Okay. Always sanity check your moves. If I do this, before you drop it, does my opponent have oh, knight fork, right? Before you put your rooks diagonally apart like that, okay? Just remember, right? When you've got a knight on a square, so let's do, just get to a blank board, yeah? Okay, set up position, bin it. Okay, let's put a white knight here. Now, look at all the squares that knight is looking at, right? These are the squares. So I'm just putting black pawns on all of these 8 squares. So what you realize is, if the knight is ever in this middle 16 square block on the board, then the knight is looking at its maximum of 8 squares. If it's outside of here, it's going to be less than that. A knight in the corner is only looking at 2 squares, for example. Okay. Now, so any of these two, let's get rid of the knight now. Okay. Any of these two positions, like 5 apart here, is knight forkable. Immediate diagonal is knight forkable from here. Okay. This is knight forkable from here. Right. So you just need to remember this. The long L, right? The long L, this is a really long L, okay? Massive L, so it's 5 long and 3 across. That's like a giant knight move, if that's a normal knight move, is knight forkable. So these two, knight forkable, okay? This is a thin L, that's also knight forkable. So you've really got to drill these patterns into your head, okay? So anyway, hope it's been useful for you guys. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to Chess Bootcamp if you haven't subscribed. I'll see you soon.